Well, ladies and gentlemen, among the stocks getting absolutely slapped and abused lately is 3M. So, as some of you know, this is now a small holding of mine in our YouTube portfolio where viewers of the channel decide what I buy in the comments. So, as such, I am more interested in what's going on with 3M as of lately, since I now have a vested interest. So 3M has been getting beaten up for quite a while now because of the earplug lawsuit. This is because one of their subsidiaries basically produced these combat earplugs that apparently did not work as intended, and some folks may have suffered some hearing loss as a result when they use the earplugs during combat situations with different kinds of explosions, etc., happening close by. So, as such, there has been a class action suit filed, and we don't know yet how much money 3M is going to be on the hook for. And either way, litigation of that sort tends to be quite expensive, and so you could anticipate perhaps a hit to the bottom line of 3M. Now, if you look, it looks like there's different headlines lately. There's some kind of thing where they just got held liable also with the Dutch government for some type of chemical damage or pollution that was caused by something. So it seems like they just cannot catch a break lately. None of the headlines are good, and as a result, the stock price is quite red. One of the benefits of that, though, is that you do have a quite high now dividend yield of over 6% in a dividend aristocrat that has raised their dividend for over 60 consecutive years. Now, I will just state the obvious that the most recent dividend raises have not been all that impressive. They have been less than 1% the last couple raises, okay? So if if you're looking for a lot of dividend growth in the next few years with the uncertainty facing the company via that lawsuit, etc., and the fact that even without that, the last few dividend raises have been kind of laughable. This may not be the best dividend growth company, but the fact remains they do have a starting yield of about 6%, and they do have one of the longest dividend increase streaks in the entire stock market, essentially. So, going to take a quick look at the financials of 3M since I haven't really lately. Okay, so revenue technically up kind of on average over the last decade, but I mean, not by much. It's pretty lackluster revenue growth, like low single digits on average, it looks like. Some years slightly down, some years slightly up, but that seems to be where it's averaging at. Gross profit down. I'm going to guess their gross margins are down recently, probably due to so-called supply chain. That's always the excuse for everything nowadays. Yep. So back in the day, they were close to 50% gross margin, and it has fallen to just below 44%. So again, on a company that's doing billions and billions of dollars worth of revenue, those those single-digit percentage point drops in gross margin actually do make a big difference on the bottom line. The dividend growth, again, pretty lackluster lately. 2%, then 2 raises in a row that were less than 1%. Back in the day, though, man, they had some really beefy dividend growth. If only those days would come back. So Honestly, even with the fact that the dividend growth has slowed down and that their overall growth as a company is not all that impressive, the fact remains that they produce a lot of cash, and honestly, they have so many different products that are kind of, just everyday things that people sort of use without even really thinking about it. I believe that overall, right, that this will at some point be in what I would consider to be value territory, enthusiastically so. So if we look at a discounted free cash flow valuation, we see that the standard calculation based on EPS with just the standard assumptions in the model shows a fair value of $120. And you could say, hey, that minus the, maybe a discount for the uncertainty with the earplug lawsuit, maybe the current price of 97 is about where it should be. Maybe. First thing, though, I do think that we should possibly consider lower growth, because their growth has been kind of lackluster over the last few years. And honestly, because of the uncertainty of the earplug lawsuit, I don't want a discount rate of 10%. I want, for 3M, 12.5% return at a minimum for taking on that extra risk. Now, with the slightly lower EPS growth rate, I come out with an approximate fair value of $92 with my higher discount rate and lower growth rates than the model has by default. Now, this tells me that we're pretty close to what I would call the value zone. If this thing fell to like $90, I would probably be looking very strongly at selling puts in the mid 80s, because I think at that point I've got enough margin of safety and enough meat on the bone to where even with cruddy growth, and if some things don't go very well with the lawsuit, there's probably still a return to be made on this thing, okay? Now, granted, I did these calculations based on EPS. If they were to do buybacks, if the shares get cheap, that actually helps grow EPS. It's hard to factor that into the model, though. Now, their free cash flow valuation is a little bit less because their most recent free cash flow is a little bit less than the EPS number. But as you can see, it's really okay, that brings it to 75 instead. But again, you kind of split the difference, and I was saying mid 80s, so I still kind of stand by that. And really that's where I stand today on 3M. I think we are approaching some pretty hefty value territory, and I honestly wouldn't mind seeing it drop more. Good opportunity potentially. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you've got 3M, if you think they're going to be able to survive this lawsuit, what you think the implications are in the long run. Hop on Discord, like the video, Discord link in the description. Do all that stuff to help me out with the algorithm, because the algorithm's important. Algorithm. Take it easy, everyone. Have a wonderful afternoon.